And we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Hey, y'all. I hope that you are excited because I'm excited because we're going to talk about one of my favorite things today, which is travel. And sorry, I do that every week, don't I, y'all? I mean, listening to myself on the other page. So who's here? Let me know. If you're watching live, good on you. If you're not, that's okay. Because tonight's expert is going to help you get your life. Her name is Libria Jones. And I'm just going to read her short bio, but then I'm just going to tell you how I know her. She's a person who will look at the price tag on a designer handbag or a pair of shoes and think, man, I could get a plane ticket to Istanbul, which I've been to and I love for that. She checks Google Flights before she checks her emails. Her friends and coworkers don't ask what she did over the weekend. They ask where she went. Yes, she keeps a carry-on packed with travel essentials ready to go at all times. Okay. Her name is Libria Jones, and she is a wanderist. That's somebody who wanders for a living. Over the last 2 years, she's become increasingly passionate about travel, but in between landings and takeoffs, she's a single soccer mom who loves cooking and doing DIY decor projects at home. She's also the founder of My Wander Year and Wandering Moms. So I met Libria in, where was I? Was that Prague, Libria? Is that where I met you? So what happened, so every year for my birthday, I go on what I call an epic birthday adventure with one of my good friends, Madeline. And I am also part of this brown travel group on Facebook called Nomad. And Libria and I are both in that group. And I just happened to mention, hey, I'm in Prague. And she's like, oh, me too. And I'd never met her a day before in my life. But then we met up in Prague and we had dinner, which was, I forgot what we ate. Was it yummy? I don't remember.
It was a seafood restaurant. It was really good.
Oh, and then I was like, but travel tends to bring folks together. So yeah, I'm super excited. Libria, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you. We had a good time in Prague. Thanks for making time to hang out with me. That was a good time. It was nice to meet you. I hope she's doing well.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get to start wandering?
So my family's always traveled by car mostly. And I grew up in Tallahassee, which is not a big city or a small town. It's like somewhere in between. Yeah. And I've always wanted to live out of the country. And when I got to college, I wanted to do an internship out of the country. Those were all taken by people who spoke other languages and, you know, maybe were more serious students than I was. And I got to grad school and got the offer to do an internship in China. And I wasn't able to go because the school wouldn't allow me to take my daughter, who was 3 months old at the time. They felt like they said it was a liability, which, you know, I understand. And then fast forward to a few years ago, I was looking for work in Dubai. But as a woman, if you're not a teacher or a nurse, you're not getting a job in the UAE. It's just not happening. And I was a project manager at the time. And so I stumbled across a program that took people around the world for a year and thought, awesome, here's my chance. I'm going to apply for that, and realized they don't take people with kids either. So yet again, you know, roadblocks because I'm someone's mother. And I decided that I'm sick of people telling me no. And so I figured I should create the opportunity for myself and open it up to other people who, for whatever reason, thought it wasn't available to them as well.
I love that. And so, like many entrepreneurs, Libria saw a hole in the marketplace and she filled it. So, you know, that's just like, I think every entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs, that's how they started on their business. So tell us some of the places that you've been, and then we're really going to get into the meat, guys, because I know what you want to know is how, right? So some of the places that you've been, you and your daughter have been.
So the last 12 months, I've been in the US now for 2 weeks. So the last 12 months, we've been traveling around the world with a group of people with my company, Wanderous Life. We started in Czech Republic, and then we went to Thailand for 3 months. And then we went to South Africa for 3 months, and then to Colombia for 3 months. And the great thing about being in each location for 3 months is two things. One, we're there long enough for it to feel like home. Like I've got my favorite coffee shop and my favorite restaurants. But also we're there long enough to travel around and enjoy, you know, the cheap prices, especially in Europe, of, you know, flying to Paris for $100 or taking a train to Germany for $40. So we've been a lot of places over the last 12 months, but those were the 3 that we actually had roots in for 3 months at a time.
That's awesome. So tell us, like, so I want to get, I know everybody wants to get some tips on how do you travel as a mom and how do you travel without tricking up all your money, you know, because everyone wants to travel more.
There's a lot of ways to, so traveling as a mom, I reject the idea that traveling as a mom is impossible or so much more difficult. You hear people all the time saying things like, you got to travel before you have kids. Not true at all. I know, you know, Wandering Moms is 8,000 members strong of women who pick up and go on a regular basis with their children. And that's ages, you know, infant to teenagers to adult kids, right? You definitely have to be cognizant of a little bit more. It definitely costs a little bit more to travel with your kids, but how to do it without breaking the bank? I mean, I think you approach it just like most of us approach saving money anywhere, right? You got to go where the deals are. You know, you find the websites that have cheap flights. Mm-hmm. You travel during off-peak hours. You take advantage of Groupon deals and deals that you find on TravelZoo and things like that. So there's a lot out there that will make it. I think right now we're just in a great time where travel is so competitive that there are so many airline prices. It's just a matter of you being smart and paying attention and being flexible. Being flexible is you know the number one key to traveling. The one year I traveled to 5 or 6 different countries, and I didn't pick any of those places. The travel gods, travel gods picked those places. It was I followed deals. So
okay,
yeah,
I like that. So you guys get your questions ready. So we're really going to dig into what it's really like to be a digital nomad. So let's get started. So digital nomad and traveling mom. First things first, if I want to travel and to do so, what do I need to do first?
So if you want to travel, so if we're talking about traveling long term, so for instance, people that participate in programs like Wanderous Life and Wander Year, you got to be a digital nomad. And so what a digital nomad is someone that you're working on the road, right? You're working on the go. You either work from home, you work for yourself. There's a few ways to be a digital nomad. And the primary ways are, 1, get a remote job.
Okay.
That's the thing that I think a lot of people struggle with so much, because you have so many people who don't even realize that there are remote jobs out there for them. I can guarantee you most people listening to this conversation think that most remote jobs are for people who are in technology. If you're not a developer, you're not a coder, you're not a graphic designer, you're probably not getting a remote job. That's not true. You would be surprised at how many remote jobs are out there for teachers, for attorneys, for a wide array of jobs, even HR. Like there are so many remote jobs out there. It's just about finding the right places. I wrote a blog a little while ago about finding those remote jobs.
Ooh, can we get a link to that blog?
Yes, you can.
No, like get that link.
We actually have 2. So I think the most recent one was answers to your top 5 questions about remote work, about landing remote work. So I'll send that to you.
Okay, we're going to put it inside the Academy, guys, just so you know.
Yeah. The other thing is you can propose remote work to your job.
Okay.
So this one is kind of way outside of what people think they can do. But this is one of the things that I love. I love pushing people to do things that they wouldn't necessarily do. The answer to the unasked question is no. At the end of the day,
can we stop for a moment?
You got to ask.
That's an aha moment. If you didn't get that, because guys, at the end, I always ask you to go back to our Facebook group if you're watching live and to share it, right? So the answer to the unasked question is no, right? Ask, girl. All right, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a way to ask, right? So we, when we first launched Wander Year, that was a lot of issues that some people had. They could do their job remotely, but they didn't know how to turn it into a remote job. So we actually put together a proposal for them to go to their companies, and you've got to talk to your company about, here's how I can make this work. Here's what's in it for you. Okay. And here's what's in it for me. And there really is a lot of benefit to your company allowing you to work remotely. Okay. And you'd be surprised at how many people I've seen actually ask the question and get a yes. You'd be surprised. People don't bother to ask because they think they'll get a no. Don't be afraid of getting a no. You might get one. Okay. I actually had someone on the trip who got a no. She got a yes from her manager, and then she got a no from HR. And she actually pushed back and said, why? Like, explain to me why this is a no. And they couldn't. So they had to give it to her. She went on the trip.
Yes.
So there's a way to do this. And I believe we actually also have a blog on how to propose remote work, so I can share that too.
Okay, awesome. No,
and
the more info you can give, the better.
Yeah. The other way is to work for yourself, obviously. I know a lot of people in dream builders and dream catchers really want to start consulting on their own or start their own businesses. And that truly is a way to be a digital nomad, especially if you are consulting and doing work that you can do from anywhere. And I'll get into kind of the pros and cons of digital nomad, because people see digital nomads. Like if you Google digital nomads right now, you're going to get pictures of people with their laptop at the beach, people sitting at bars with their laptop. And it's
lies. No, that's not lies, but that's not the whole picture.
It's not the whole picture. It's true. It happens. I mean, I was at the pool the other day working, right? But what you don't see is people staying up late till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Or if you're in Thailand, you got to work US hours, and that's 8 at night to 5 in the morning. And so a lot of times there's this, ugly and unglamorous side of being a digital nomad that you have to address. So that's what I wanted to talk about. But those are the 3 ways to be a digital nomad: remote work, propose remote work to your companies, or work for yourself in a remote manner.
Okay.
Yep.
I like that, propose remote work.
Yeah, I want people to do that so much more, especially now, like technology being what it is and companies wanting to retain you. So that's the thing. You've got some leverage. Your company does not want to replace you, especially if you've got some brand equity in your company, you do good work, you have good relationships. They don't want to lose you. So have the conversation. Have the conversation about what you really want. It is a retention tool for them.
All right. So number 1, if you're wanting to live somewhere in an extended manner, you have to become a digital nomad, which is basically remote work, whatever that looks like. And so
unless you just got money, I mean,
right? He got money. All right. So what else? What else to becoming and if I want to live somewhere, an extended period of time, and I want to live wherever I want to live, what else do I need to do? So I know becoming a digital nomad, basically locking in how I'm going to make money.
Yeah. So honestly, that's it. So the rest of it is figuring out where you're going to live and making your plan.
Let's get there. Okay. So we have to figure out where you're going to live. Okay.
Yeah. So, figure out where you want to live. Some of the best places for digital nomads are places like Thailand, because the cost of living is so low. Cambodia, Southeast Asia is going to be, go where your dollar stretches.
Ooh, I like that.
Go where your dollar is going to stretch. Go where, that US dollar is long and strong. And I think it's also really, really important to connect with a tribe. You got to find a tribe wherever you're going. Especially as a parent, we need villages. Us parents, we need to have a village. So, find tribes to connect to. There are a lot of programs like Wanderous Life out there that you can take advantage of letting someone else make those decisions for you, right? These programs have already put together selected places. They've already vetted these places based on safety, based on how hard it is to maintain a visa there, based on, what's the best area to live in that city, right?
Okay.
So taking advantage of programs like ours, I want to say there's at least 5 or 6 other programs like ours. So that makes it easy. That takes all of the guesswork out of it. And a lot of times the value that you get for paying for those programs, you're paying one bill basically, and they're covering your lights, your rent. They get you a co-working space. We get you a co-working space. We pay for your SIM card. We organize a few fun activities, and we get you plugged into communities and networks within those areas. So I think that's one of the easiest ways to manage that whole I want to go and live abroad. There's a lot of companies that do it for a whole year. We do as well, but there are also companies like mine and a few others that do it for 1 month if you just want to get your feet wet for it.
So Angela asked for quick. The program, it's
Wanderous Life.
Wanderous Life. It's with the IS.
Yep.
So wanderouslife.com. It'll be inside the academy, and I'll also post it in the Facebook group once if you're watching live. And so I'm just going to recap a little bit of what Libya went over. So if you're wanting to live somewhere for an extended period of time, you have to figure out your money. So become a digital nomad, right? 2, you're going to figure out where you want to live. Like, so what does that look like? You want to go, obviously, where your dollar stretches. 3, you really want to find a tribe, especially if you're a mom. It's going to make it so much easier if you can connect with other moms And 4, consider joining a program. Libya put together a full program where not what I like about your program is that you created the program you wish that you had, right?
Right.
Which is one where kids are allowed.
Yep.
Right. And it what I love is that you exactly, and I love the fact that you help folks reach out to their jobs to say, hey, I can do this job over here. And so for those of you asking, I see some of you asking, it's Wander's Lab. I'm going to post the link, but it's also going to be in the academy. And I love the fact that you help people just even have the conversations with their bosses and jobs to say, hey, you know, this is something I'd really want to do, and here's a proposal. I think that's dope. I don't know if other programs do that, but I think that it's not just like, hey, sign up if you can. It's like, no, we're going to make it possible for you to actually make this dream of yours happen. Let's hold your hand throughout. So I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the pros and cons of being a digital nomad, because like I said before, you Google digital nomad and you hear people talk about being digital nomads, and it's all beach photos and you know, people sipping Mai Tais and things. And that's not always the case. I mean, I find that, you know, I've heard a lot of digital nomads end up saying that they end up working harder and longer hours than they would in the office, right? And so, you know, as an entrepreneur, you automatically, like, that goes out the door. Regular office hours goes out the door. You're always working for the most part. But quite often, digital nomads find themselves working a lot harder for a couple of reasons. Perception of their coworkers. They don't want it to look like they're not doing as much as they are, right? So some of the pros and cons, I'll give you the pros. There absolutely are pros to being a digital nomad and to working remotely. The first is you are outside of office politics. That right there for me, whew, that was like the best thing. Like, I don't want to be in office politics. So that's a huge pro. There's a downside to being outside of office politics, though, because a lot of times properly navigating office politics advances your career, right? Okay. And so being disconnected from your team, you don't get to participate in office politics in a positive way that moves your career forward. So those are things that you have to think about. You win flexibility. You get flexible. Like, you get to work when you want to quite often, unless you have to keep US hours. The downside of that is you also don't have accountability, right? You are responsible for your own discipline. And a lot of times people fail at that. And I think for any person that's thinking about going into remote work or going into being a digital nomad, I would ask you to be very honest with yourself about how disciplined you can be. Don't lose your job over it, you know?
Yeah, child.
It's just not worth it. Don't lose your job over it. The other thing is you get to maximize your time and effectiveness. So before I left, lived in Atlanta, and I don't know if how many of y'all are from Atlanta, but your commute to work can easily be a whole hour, right? And so working as a digital nomad, I don't have that commute. So I can spend that 2 hours that I would have spent commuting actually working. And then I don't have people stopping by my desk to tell me about what they did over the weekend or what Bob said in the meeting at 3:00. Like, I don't have that, right? So I get to be as effective as I can throughout the day. And I always list work-life balance as a pro and a con, if that makes sense.
What's balance as an entrepreneur?
What is that?
Right?
So, what is that? So one of my friends actually, slightly off, but one of my friends said balance is every day deciding what you're okay failing at.
I like that. Oh, we gonna wait. Aha moment.
It's true.
Balance is every day deciding what you're okay failing at. I like that.
Because I can't win at everything every single day. I just cannot. And so, yes, you get work-life balance. So for instance, I'm working in Thailand, right? I don't have to, I feel like a lot of times in our traditional jobs, we're waiting and working towards this day we can take a vacation. Well, I live on vacation now, right? So I can work and come Wednesday afternoon when I'm done, or Friday afternoon, my weekend is already on vacation. I'm already there, right? Okay. I'm already, walking on a beach in Cape Town. I can do that. So you get work-life balance in that way. But a lot of times work-life balance is a con because you find yourself working crazy hours. You find yourself working too much. You find yourself taking on too much. And you find yourself trying to prove to your company that you're actually doing work. And so you don't get that work-life balance. And I've heard that quite often, especially for people who have to work US hours. So if you're a digital nomad that has to work US hours, I would consider what areas of the world you're going to. Because I'm gonna tell you something, working from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., that's not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
Not fun for anybody. But yeah, so definitely think through the pros and cons. If you're considering being a digital nomad, think through those pros and cons. And I actually have some tips on how to maximize the cons and how to minimize the cons and maximize the pros as well.
Okay, let's go. We're gonna go some tips. I wanna answer because Jocelyn asked the question. She said, traveling with young kids. What about schooling to avoid the school police and their minimum attendance and curriculum requirements? Are your kids considered to be homeschooled? So is your daughter, was she homeschooled?
It's a good question. So I get that question quite often. You'd be surprised at how many states offer free online schooling. I'm originally from the state of Florida. I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. And the state of Florida offers a free online school, K through 12. So my daughter went to school online. Here's another place where I think people have to be very honest with themselves and have to go into it with a plan. There's pros and cons to that as well. My daughter needs a structured environment. If I didn't learn anything the last 12 months, what I learned is she needs a very structured environment, and I'm not a homeschool mom. Nope. So just like you as a digital nomad need that discipline, and you're going to have to be in charge of your own discipline and accountability, the same applies to your kids when they're being home. So you can either homeschool them or you can put them in a virtual school. In either case, in both cases, you're going to be homeschooling them. So they're going to need that discipline. They're going to need that structure. You can also, I mean, I know someone who took their kid out of the school system for the time period that they were traveling. I don't know the legal details behind that. I think it's a little bit difficult because I don't know if you know why that's a legal thing, but students have to be at the school because they have to count them so that they can get their funding. Okay. That's why it's illegal for your child not to be at school for the most part. But if your child is not enrolled in a school in that county, then they're not part of that legal count. Right. Okay. If that makes sense. So if you withdraw your child from school before you leave, then that won't affect you.
Okay. So just being mindful. I didn't even know that. That's dope to know that that you can actually, like, your child can go to school. And as a former teacher, I'm just letting you know that, like, if your child is going to be, even if you're not physically saying, hey, this is A is for apple, and you're not teaching your child yourself, you should create a school-like environment, meaning like wake up at 9, go take your shower, eat your breakfast, start your school at 10 to 12, you're doing that. You know what I mean? Like creating.
I love that you said that. That's actually one of my tips.
You know, because if not, I mean, like, if not, kids are not adults. And even adults need some.
I was going to say adults are not adults. Like, one of the tips is to get up and get dressed and get moving. You know, people need structure. A little bit. Exactly. Everybody needs some form of structure. Exactly. And you'll find that a lot of creatives, people who are digital nomads, who are developers, who are graphic designers, who are writers and freelancers, a lot of times they don't realize that they need structure because creatives don't do structure, right? Everybody needs structure. Everybody needs some semblance of structure.
Oh, it's true. So once you figure it out for yourself, I mean, it was not easy when I was learning to work for myself, because I was used to going into the classroom every day. I woke up at 5, I took my shower, got to school at 7, took down the chairs. And then when it was like the first 3 or 4 months of working for myself, I was like, child, I ain't got to do nothing.
I was like, oh, naps. About this nap I'm fixing to take. Oh, I can catch up on these shows. I watched Breaking Bad. Oh gosh.
Right. And then when my bank account was like, I was like, wait, girl, wait. And so I learned quickly that you could not work, but if you don't work, you don't eat. And so I had to learn for myself. Like, now I have a basic structure for myself. I know when I wake up, I take a shower. Even if I don't put on cute clothes, I put on clothes, you know. Then I sit in front of my computer, and I typically have like a to-do list that I either do the night before or I do early in the morning before I even open up my email and the world floods in. Yep. You know, and then so I have, because I don't consider myself super structured, but I realized that if I didn't have some sort of structure, then I would not be able to run a successful business. And I take a daily nap, but that's inside my calendar. Like, all right, so after lunch, I might chill for a little bit. So I have a decision. Either I could take a nap, or I could go for a walk or chill, or I take a lunchtime for myself, an hour. So I might watch HGTV, take a nap, or go for a walk, whatever it is that I decide. And so definitely having a schedule is going to be critical.
You have to have a schedule. And that's a pro of nap time, right? So some of I think that to address some of that. So I mentioned being disconnected from your teams, right? So you're outside of office politics. One of the things that you have to do as a digital nomad is manage your relationships. Even if you're an entrepreneur and your clients are remote, right? So you work remote for your clients. In either case, you're going to have to manage your relationships because you don't get that face-to-face contact. And quite often in your career, in jobs, you move up or you get more compensation, a lot of times, fair or not, good, bad, or indifferent, because of your likability, right? So when people are thinking about who do I want to put in this position, or who do I want to give this opportunity to, it's not just who performs well, it's who do I like. And so you've got to put more work into managing those relationships with your coworkers, because I'm gonna tell you something. If you propose remote work in your office and you get it, that's gonna change the dynamic in your team. People aren't gonna be happy for you. People are gonna be feeling some kind of way that you got that. What's so special about you? And so you need to manage those relationships so that people don't sabotage you, so that people help you when you need it. And you've got to manage your relationships with your managers that you don't get to spend time face to face with. Clients, same thing with clients. And so it becomes, let me, get into this chat room and have more conversations, or, let me check on this person, or let me shoot this person this article that I saw that they were interested in. So you have to put a little bit more work into managing your relationships. And then my second tip, you already took it, set a schedule. Honestly, I tell people to set meetings, like, set a meeting with your manager, set a meeting with someone, set goals, get up and get dressed. The best thing that I did for myself when I started working remotely was to actually get up and get dressed every morning.
Okay.
It made a world of difference, even if it's just like put on a shirt.
I like that.
Right? Just get up and do things. And a lot of times I had to get up and get out of the house too, because you can definitely go stir crazy. So I'd find co-working spaces and coffee shops, and I would put out feelers on Facebook, like, who wants to come co-work with me today? Because sometimes you need that. You need that camaraderie. You need that. I think that's the thing you miss the most when you leave an office is the water cooler talk, right? Yeah. You want it, but you don't want it as much. And then being visible. I think that, that goes back to the whole managing your career. When you're disconnected from your team, you still want to be visible. And I think you can take advantage of certain things. Like, if you work in Thailand, guess what? You work in the future. Get up in the morning, get your things done, right? Get your tactical items done, and have it waiting for people in their inbox when they wake up. Like, take advantage of that time difference. I work in the future. I've already gotten this stuff done before you even thought about it. And that way, short amount of time you have to work. So one of the young ladies on the trip, she worked US hours, 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. And instead of doing that full time, she would just get up in the morning, get things done, and then she would shorten the amount of time she worked during US
like
hours.
that. That's smart. I like someone said, go ahead.
Good.
No, I was going to say, Deborah, I love what you said. She said, and this is so me, Deborah, I had to learn this. She said, I learned to work around my energy levels. When is the best time to do certain kinds of work? Yep. It's so true, because I am a morning person. I realized that, there's times when literally I woke up, like the other day, I woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and I was wide awake. And old me used to try to force myself, go back to sleep. Now, when I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, I bang out 3 hours worth of work and then go back to sleep at 6. Yeah. And then maybe I won't get up until 10 again, but I've already gotten half of my day done. So I've learned to work around when the energy, I don't have children, so it's easier, because I know if I had a baby, the baby like, you might want to catch that nap.
Ain't no energy. First of all, ain't no energy. I actually had this very conversation with someone a few weeks ago who was asking for tips on how to motivate herself to get things done. And I was like, don't apply what everybody else says. You read all these articles that say you need to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Do what works best for you. When are you your most productive? When is your mind the most clear? For me, it's early in the morning. I'm like you. I wake up, I cannot go back to sleep. As soon as I wake up, I'm already thinking about all the things that I need to get done. Right. And so, but also after 12, 1 o'clock, it's a wrap. Like, I might get some stuff done. Why not? I don't know. So
no, it's true.
Let's see how this nap goes. But work, I love that. Work around your energy level. And I think that the whole point of working remotely and being a digital nomad is owning your schedule. Just make sure you have one, but you get to own your schedule. Otherwise, what are you doing this for? Right. So definitely work around your energy levels. And The other thing I'd say is balance that time. So we talked about work-life balance, right? I think that people need to use this time. So you've got all this benefit, right? You've got all this benefit of, I work early, I can maximize my time, I can use technology. Really use that time also, that extra time, to invest in things that fulfill you, because you're going to be a better employee when you're happy. So make the effort. So if you're traveling, if you're working and traveling and you're in Prague, right? Go outside and enjoy how beautiful the city is. Take time to actually work in time to enjoy where you are. Otherwise, you'll be just as sad as you were sitting in that cubicle, right? And so you've got to own your schedule, not just for work, but you've also got to own the schedule for, how you're going to make yourself happy while you're doing this, right? Because I'm gonna tell you something. Dropping everything and traveling and going around the world for a long period of time sounds fantastic, and it is. But there is a downside to leaving everything that's familiar to you. You leave your family, you leave your friends, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. So you can look up and realize that you're working, you're behind off, and you're working all the time, and you're not really having fun, and your friends aren't there.
Yep.
Right. And it has happened to me. It's happened to several people on the trip as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you're investing in the balance part in the life part of the work-life balance equation, because that can happen here. It can happen in your cubicle. It can happen in the middle of Colombia.
That's the thing I struggle with, honestly, because I work and then sometimes I'm like, did you get sunlight on your face, ma'am? And I'm looking up and I'm like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. And I'm like, it doesn't, and I'm not living in another country. It's so easy for the day to get away from you.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing that I had to, and I'm still working on releasing that. I'll stop when I'm done. There is no done when you work for yourself. Mm-mm. There is always an outstanding product. You have to stop when you're like, you could create a time. You could create when this particular goal is met or whatever, but there is no done. So I used to think if I could just answer these emails, and then as soon as I click done on the last email, 10 more come flooding in, and I'm like,
right. There's no such thing as finished. There's always something else to do. Whether you're an entrepreneur, freelancer, employee, we know this, right? The only difference is when we're in the office, when it hits 5, 6 o'clock and people start leaving, that's your cue to leave. You get no cue to leave.
You have no cue to leave, and it's
working as a digital nomad.
And if you don't create your own cues to leave, then you're going to find yourself, because there's been times definitely when I was like, I don't want to do the budget needs to know more. I'm going to go back to teaching preschool, because it could be so much, because there was right. Because I'm like, I never, sometimes you feel like, I never get a chance to just relax unless I force myself. I remember my best friend, I was like crying. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. She took my pen. It was like, what day are you going to take off a week? I'm like, I can't. What day are you going to take? At the time, I used to use a paper calendar. She's like, Monday sound good to me. She took a black marker and crossed out Monday for the full year. I was like, oh my God, this is like my calendar that I actually use. I can't write anything there. And she was like, exactly. And I took Mondays off, and the world didn't fall, and my business didn't crumble.
It won't. It doesn't. It won't. It's, I mean, people, when I worked at home, so my first remote job, my first stint as a digital nomad, I wasn't traveling like I do now. I was working from home, and I told somebody, working from home is cool and all. It's very convenient because my office is in my house. It's very convenient, but also inconvenient because my house is in my office, and I can look up and it's 10 o'clock and my child hasn't been fed and working. And so we definitely have to. Like,
right, so we just not going
to eat no more noodles, mama. Not today.
No more peanut butter jelly.
Right. So I like that. You got to create your cues to leave. I really do like that. I think that's a good one. Write that down.
Yeah. So Angela actually had an interesting question. She said, so what about love life? Can I find a new boo in Southeast Asia?
Of course you can.
Okay.
So, funny story. I actually dated somebody while I was in Southeast Asia. He was French, though. He was French. Okay. Thailand, we were in Thailand. Thailand like Thai women, so there's that. Okay. But so a couple things. One, there are visitors. So especially in Southeast Asia, there are digital nomads. It's a huge hub for digital nomads. So there's people of all walks of life, and they're looking for you. So go out there and get it. Also, if you prefer certain types. So people use Tinder, people I don't know what the other apps are. And there's a new app one of my friends just dropped called Aphrodite. And it is to help people find men of color, people from the diaspora all over the world, no matter where you are.
Okay, I like that.
Aphrodite. It just came out like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I dated somebody when I was in Southeast Asia. He was not Asian, he was French. He was visiting.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Rosalind, she said, what are we talking about specifically? Position, job, or just persons that work virtually? What we're talking about, Rosalind, is how can you support your dream of living abroad? And one of the ways that you can do so is to figure out how you can work virtually, whether that's starting your own business, whether that's convincing your job or where you work currently that you can work virtually. Like, convincing HR, your manager, whoever, like, hey, I spend 80% of my time on my computer anyway. Why can't I be on my computer wherever it is that it is that I want? Yeah.
And there's some finesse to approaching that. I just had a conversation with someone who said that someone walked into her manager's office and said, explain to me why I can't do this job remotely. It's not their job to explain that to you.
It's not. They're like, no. You're getting gangster. Explain to me why we should keep you.
Simmer down.
Right.
So there's a way to approach that. I think you go in any negotiation, right? You want to explain to the other party what's in it for them at the end of the day. And the key thing that's in it for them is retention, right? They don't want to lose you. And I think you go into that conversation explaining what is your plan? How do you plan to stay connected? How do you plan to make sure you're doing your work? How do you plan to make sure you're being productive? How will I know that you're doing that? You go and answer all those questions for them up front. So think about it as if you were the manager, what would you ask? What would you want to know? Right? So answer those questions, go in there, tell them what's in it for them, and explain what are your touch points? And then explain the program. Because I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of employers like employees with passion. They like to have employees who have a passion, who care about something. You'd be surprised how many employers support people who want to run marathons, or who want to adopt a kid, or who want to do huge volunteer work. So, this is something people are passionate about, and more employers are finding that, happy people make the best employees. And so they want to invest in your happiness a lot of times. You've just got to make sure it makes sense for them. That's it.
I like it. This is a good question from Elaine. What about healthcare abroad?
Ooh, so healthcare abroad, it depends. So there are countries who have expat healthcare programs. So like Czech Republic has a traveler's healthcare program that costs maybe $30.
$30 a month?
No, for the whole 3 months we were there, I think it was $30.
What?
Yeah. But also some of the major healthcare companies in the United States offer World Health Insurance.
Okay.
Those are a little bit more expensive because, US. There's one called Geo Blue that I was looking into, and it's actually not as expensive as you would think it is, but it's it's not cheap either. And then there are certain countries where the healthcare is so inexpensive that you don't necessarily have to have insurance. So like Thailand, I went to the emergency room in Thailand. I got an ear infection. I actually just did a blog on medical care in Thailand. I got an ear infection, went to the emergency room, saw a specialist, not just a ER doctor. I saw an ear, nose, and throat specialist within 20 minutes, got a prescription, got out of there. I think I spent all of $40.
Child, and then let me give you a point of reference. I was not feeling well, and I had just gotten married, and so my health insurance that I was paying for, there was a lapse of about a month, because I was like, well, I don't want to get new insurance. I'm about to get married. I should have got it. So I didn't have health insurance for a month. Of course, in that month, the girl that never gets sick got sick, or like something. I don't know. I ate something. That's what it was. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. I felt like an alien was coming out from my stomach. And I went to the emergency room, and they did like all of this stuff to see like what's wrong with Tiffany. It just turns out I ate something that I shouldn't have eaten, because I know I'm lactose intolerant, but I still be trying. I got the bill. The bill said $10,000. $10,000. And then they whittled it down, and they were like, oh, okay, I was like, I don't have insurance, so you ain't gonna get that. So they got me down to $2,000. Still $2,000. So Libria goes to the doctor, to the emergency room, $40. I go to the emergency room in the United States, $10,000, but they did me a favor and allowed me to pay $2,000. Child,
That's bananas. And what's crazy is even with insurance, an emergency room visit, minimum is going to cost you $100.
Yep.
Minimum.
At minimum.
And now you've already been paying them premiums for the past 8 months, right?
Yep.
Now let's add this $100 on top of it. Exactly. My inhaler. So I have asthma really badly. To buy an asthma inhaler in the US, first I've got to go see my doctor because I only get 2 refills. So that's a doctor's visit. Then he's got to give me a prescription, and then I got to go buy it. It's maybe $30. Without insurance, it's $150. In Thailand and in Colombia, it's over the counter $5.
That's crazy.
No prescription. Just walk into a pharmacy and say, "Can you run me that inhaler over there?"
So I can live.
So I can live and breathe, just so I can breathe in and out. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. But to answer the question, there are healthcare programs. A lot of countries do expat healthcare programs. Some travel insurance, which covers things like if your flight gets canceled. Some of those will cover a few things. So if you're hospitalized, they'll reimburse you for your hospital bills. But if you want things like actual medical insurance where you need preventive care, or you need to go see go get your annual visit, things like that. There are a lot of healthcare companies that offer World Healthcare in the U.S. GeoBlue is the one that comes to mind. That's the one I've researched the most.
Okay. Rosalind asked, if you're an entrepreneur, how do you attract clients? Tiffany, when you're providing virtual financial coaching, what are your tactics? So I'll let you share how you attract clients, Libria, and then I'll share. So one, I don't do virtual financial coaching because one-on-one coaching for me, I realize that that's not really where my passion lies. So instead, what I do is what I'm doing now. I created an online platform. So I live in Jersey, so I'm not a digital nomad. I'm just someone who works for themselves. But I created a community, and I was of service to that community. And then I was like, hey, community, I've got some things that are an extension of the service, like a book. Please buy it. A 1-week budget. You bought it. Another book. The Literature Challenge on Amazon, both of them. So you guys bought that. And then 2, the Literature Academy, you're in it now. That, you join the Academy, you pay for access, monthly. And then I use it to obviously pay staff, stuff like that. But there's still money left over to help me. So I have 2 companies. I have the Literature Academy, but then I also have the Budgetnista, which is speaking and teaching. And so I would say digitally, let's just say I didn't speak and teach, then for me, it would be books and it would be the Academy.
Yeah.
Those are the ways. But what about you? What are some ways that you suggest or that you have attracted clients no matter where you are in the world?
So my answer is going to be I don't care what you do. Know who your clients are, know who your market is, and meet them where they are. Where do they hang out? What is the profile of one of your clients or one of your customers? What do they look like? What do they like to do? What do they care about? What's important to them? You find that out and you've hit gold. You know where they hang out. You know what areas they are. So for instance, my company is geared towards people who can either take off a year or can work and travel for a year, right? And so what I want to do is be in places where people care about things like travel, or people care about things like being entrepreneurs, or care about the digital nomad lifestyle or freelancing. So maybe I'm going to join groups of bloggers because I know that they're going to work remotely, or I'm going to join groups of entrepreneurs because I know that they're likely able to work remotely as well. So, and then I'm gonna follow people that love things like the blog abroad. I don't know if you've ever heard of the blog abroad, but Glow, the person that runs that, is a friend of mine, and she's a huge traveler. So people that follow her are likely very inspired by the fact that she spends her life all over the world, right? Those are the type of people that want to hang out with me somewhere in the world. And so I think it's a matter of really understanding who your target market is and figuring out what they like. Go down take the time to go down the rabbit hole. What kind of book would your customer read, right? So the kind of book that Tiffany's customer would read is the 1-week budget, obviously, right? So look on that on Amazon, and what else comes up? What related books come up, right? See what people like, right? So if my customer is going to like something like, I don't know, Nomadness, right? I click on the Nomadness page. What are other pages like that? So go figure out, A, who is your customer? B, what does your customer like, and then go hang out there, go meet them wherever they are. That's what I mean. That's what I've been working to do. I'm working on doing a much better job of it, but that's the advice I would give to any freelancer or entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's just honestly, you have to figure out, like Libria said, you have to figure out, one, how does your customer want to be spoken to, approached? And I really believe in creating like an atmosphere where your customer basically tells you what they want. How many times with the Academy do I ask you guys, well, what do you want? You know, I remember this is like the first time I opened the Academy, we had a chat room on like some other site, because you guys were like, I kind of want to get away from Facebook. So we had on that site. That site was the worst. And then we found another chat room, so we switched everyone over. That site was second the worst. And then you guys were like, you know what? Facebook ain't even that bad though. And so we came on back to Facebook. But that's because we asked. And so the best way to attract people is to, one, figure out who you want to speak to, and two, listen, ask and listen, you know, because, you know, that's really the only way.
I think I want to add to that, because Tiffany, you and I talk about this a lot, actually. Add value. You know, what are you doing for people that make them want to be around you, right? Yep. And so one of the things that we do is I write a lot of resources on how to get a remote job, because you're likely never going on this trip if you don't get a remote job, right?
What's your blog again? Before we forget, what's your blog? Like, how do we get there?
It's on the Wondrous Life page. So
so wondrouslife.com.
And so on our email list, we share, you know, remote work resources. Sometimes in our Facebook group, we share remote jobs that we see that are, you know, kind of span the gamut. Because at the end of the day, I can't turn people into customers if they can't, you know, put themselves in a position to afford to do something like this. And so I always want to add value. I don't want to be in my customer's inbox if I'm not giving them something, right? I want to come bearing gifts. I don't want to come with my hand out asking for things. And I think Tiffany does a fantastic job of the same. You know, we add value, we try to educate people. And then a lot of times they come to you as a result.
Exactly. So Lulu asked real quick, Lula, is GeoBlue a travel insurance? That's travel insurance? Or no, that's just health insurance?
So it's not travel insurance. It's a medical insurance for people who would travel.
Okay. So you guys get your questions ready. So again, if you are interested in just living outside of where you live now, if you're just even interested in kind of like working remotely, even if remotely is at your house, right? Then you should go to wondrouslife.com. So that's ist life.com. Libria has a email list where what dope things you send us via email?
I send all kind of dope things. So I send a lot of resources on how to work remotely, how to get remote jobs, how to land remote jobs, how to propose remote jobs. We also talk a lot about, you know, how to maintain travel. I think we did a great blog on how to save money, how to find money for travel, for long-term travel. So we share a lot of that. And then we also share, you know, some of our experiences, what we've learned over the last 12 months and what we've accomplished and things like that.
I love that. So it's wondrous.com, Wondrous Life. I'm like the worst. Anyway, it's going to be inside the Academy because y'all know I can never get it straight. What I love too is that she also has her community, her Wondrous Life community and her Wandering Moms community. So all of these links will be inside the Academy and also pinned to the top of the Facebook group. So you guys can join those groups, because this is what I believe is that you have to, if there's something that you're wanting to do, like what she said was so critical, is in life, find your tribe. Who is already doing that thing? You know, if you're wanting to travel, find other people who are traveling. Facebook is so awesome in that I'm sure there's a cat knitting sweater group, you know, of like people who knit cat sweaters. Join the daggone group, because what you'll get is you're going to get like-minded people. You're going to get a mix of people who know more than you. So those are mentors. People who know about the same, those are peers, and people who know less, those are mentees. And those are three critical components to me of success. So I have people that I pour into who come to me and they're like, hey, Tiffany, you know, share this with me, you know? And then I have people who are like basically neck and neck, who I'm like, but they do different things, these are usually the people you spend the most time with. So my peers are who we go back and forth with. Like me and Libera will talk like, so what do you think about this? Are you doing this, you know? And then you have your mentors. And these are people who are typically far ahead of you, and you're able to reach out to them for either connections, access, information. And so it's sometimes what I find is that someone could be a peer in one aspect, but then a mentor in another. So meaning like someone is really good at getting on the news or they're really good at getting TV spots. And I'm like, oh, I want to do better. So she's my mentor in that aspect. But when it comes to community building, I got that on lock. So she comes to me for that. So when it comes to that, she's like my mentee. And so just knowing, having those types of people in your life and connecting with those types of people are going to be critical. Whether you want to live abroad or you want to live right at your house. Oh, Rosalind said Tiffany's my mentor. Okay, girl. Yeah. So anybody have any final questions? Is there anything else you want to share with us, Libria?
Sure. Can I do a commercial?
Yeah, she said, can I spell out the word? I know, right? I'm a mess. She's like, Tiffany is a mess. Plus, I got this daggone list. They're like, well, how you spell it? I'm going to just type it. There you go. The Wanderous Life. I just put it in to the comments. And then also, too, like I said, it's going to be inside the Academy. So when you go inside, it'll be listed below. Yeah. Because, you know, my list won't let me be great. But go ahead. Do your commercial.
So I think that one of the things that we do well is we take care of a whole lot of things so that our digital nomads don't have to think about those things. We actually, at our last family dinner, had one of our digital nomads say she had a complaint that she wanted to share with me. And I was like, what we complaining on the last day? That's what we doing? She said, I'm going to go home and like, I'm going to have to pay my own bills and like do stuff for myself. And I don't know how to do that anymore because for the last 12 months, all she's had to do was focus on building her business. And I think that what I've seen over the last 12 months is, and even for the people that just came with us for 1 month, because we offer 1 month programs also, is pulling yourself out of your day-to-day routine and away from your day-to-day distractions quite often puts you in a position where you get laser focused on what you really, really want to be doing, right? So you've been sitting at home every day saying, I'm going to start this business, or I'm going to start freelancing, or I'm going to start writing this book. But your girls want to go to brunch on Sunday. And, you know, you're in that day-to-day rut. And so quite often I've seen people come on a trip like this and get so incredibly focused on getting that one thing done because they're outside of, you know, their distractions and crutches, right? So you got all your distractions, your crutches, and your excuses right at home. And so when you take advantage of something like, I'm going to go live in Medellin for a month, in Colombia for a month, you don't have any more excuses. Also, achievement motivation. You've done something big and bold that you wouldn't necessarily have done. So I urge you guys to take advantage, whether you do it with me or whether you do it on your own.
Do it with her.
Do it with me though. Even if you do it for, 2 weeks, I urge people to take an extended time away so that you see what you can actually accomplish when you remove yourself and uproot yourself from your day-to-day routine. So from what you've always been doing. So do something different than what you've always been doing,
And so, so M. Brian said, did she give us a goodie? Yes, she did. Go to thewanderouslife.com. Go to Wanderous Life. It's going to be the daggone account. It'll just say site and blog. So wanderouslife.com if you're wanting to learn more about living a remote life, becoming a digital nomad. So there's the blog with all this dope information about how to do so. And then also too, there's literally the trips are there. I was just on your site and I'm like, ooh, you got me looking like I'm about to escape from the dream catchers. Cape Town, chiming, okay. Yeah, because honestly, and Prague is beautiful, y'all. Because the trips are up there. So if you're just what I like is this, even if you're just contemplating, at the very least, sign up for the email list. So as soon as you go to wanderouslife.com, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see the email list. Sign up just to get more information because sometimes all you need is that one little baby step and one little baby step and another little baby step. It might be something you do 3 years from now or 2 years from now. But the only way that you're going to get close to that goal or that dream is to do something. And what's a free email list? But if not, to learn more information, right? And so just last few questions. So someone said, hey, Libria, did you learn any languages during your travel? Do you think it's beneficial to learn languages before traveling?
Sí, aprendió español muy bueno porque en Colombia no hay muy personas que habla inglés. So yes, I did learn Spanish very well because there aren't very many people in Colombia that speak English. I learned 30 phrases in Czech and maybe 10 to 15 in Thai.
I love it.
I didn't feel the need to invest in those languages because I wasn't going to use them. I already spoke a little bit of Spanish, but my Spanish got incredibly, like, a lot better.
I bet it did.
I didn't have a choice, right? Nobody really speaks English. So, you know, that's another thing. I think that's another benefit of going to another country, you know, especially if you want to learn Spanish or French or Italian or, you know, whatever, completely immersing yourself in it makes a huge, I'm telling you guys, Rosetta Stone is fine. Duolingo is fine. Ain't nothing like going to Colombia and not being able to speak and communicate with people. And being forced to speak the language. Like it's there's nothing better than that.
So Lula asked, do you recommend this for a senior with disabilities, or is this better suited for someone with no physical challenges?
It depends on what those physical challenges are. So we had both scenarios. So we had someone that had physical disabilities on the trip. And there were a few excursions that she couldn't participate in. She had trouble walking. There were a few excursions that she couldn't participate in. Outside of that, she still had a really good time. She still travels as well. We also had a senior on the trip. She was 62 years old, and she had the most fun of everybody, I swear. So it really just depends on what those disabilities are. I think if you're going to participate in a program, you want to disclose what those are so we can kind of talk through, you know, what our expectations are, what are the things we're going to participate in. Other than that, I still think that people should travel, like do whatever you can do. Like, I don't think that should keep you from visiting other lands if that's something that you care about.
So Angela asked, so the visa requirements are taken care of, or is that through your remote job? So do you guys help with that at Wanderous Life?
So what we do is we provide you the information necessary to make sure that you're in a country legally. So we don't take care of your visas, but we take care of the information that you need to have for that. And in most countries, as a U.S. citizen, we enter for free, 30 to 90 days, depending on what country that is, at no cost in most countries. Quite often we have to extend our visas. So for instance, in Thailand, we had to extend our visas. The cost was minimal. It was $30.
Okay.
But yes, we do provide you with all of the information that you need. Sometimes, like we did, when we were in Colombia, basically we did a meetup and went to the immigration office together, so that just in case something went down, I was there to help out.
Okay. Okay.
Nobody's been kicked out of the country yet.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Yes, tried to go to Islamic Republic, quickly became overwhelmed because I didn't speak Spanish, was lost for real. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Maybe share your website one last time and where they can connect with you and learn more. Because I'm sure there are a bunch of people who are watching like, I never thought about living remotely. Next steps.
Yeah. It's actually funny. There are a lot of people who work remotely and it never occurred to them to do it out of the country. And they already work home. Right? Like you're just sitting in your house working remotely. Girl, if you don't go somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So the website is wanderistlife.com. That's WANDERIST life.com. We have a few trips coming up. One is coming up in Thailand in November, Medellin in January, Cape Town, February. March, we are going to Johannesburg and Nairobi, and April, Bali, and oh gosh, there's one more place. Budapest. I think we're doing Budapest in April. Yep. Dope. And we've got a lot more coming. So check us out, get on the email list. We will let you know when new trips open up.
And then at the very least with the email list, you'll get tips about, how to work remotely, even if you want to stay your behind home.
Yeah, I will do my best not to be in your inbox and not deliver some value to you.
Yeah. So if you will head on over, those of you watching live, go on over, of course, Libria, just like 99.9% of our experts, is inside of our Dream Builders group. I'm going to tag her at Libria. Tag. Y'all keep putting hashtags in front of people's names. Tag the @ sign. I feel like sometimes we like some 80-year-old ladies. And I got to draw it out for you. The @ sign is different than the hashtag. Let me show you what it looks like. You're going to put the hashtag in front of her name. See? Right? And so that's what it's going to look like. And then you're going to spell Libria's name out. And then you're going to do.
Good luck spelling my name, though. Good luck with that.
Yeah, but as you start to type it in, it'll populate you. And then also, too, you're going to put a hashtag in front of Ask the Expert. No S. Ask the Expert. Because Libria is either going to see you from the tag, or Libria, you can actually type in hashtag Ask the Expert, and you'll see everyone's like awesome feedback. So I always like for people, our guests to come in, because you guys give your time. I like for them to see like how much people really enjoyed, And so like Zahara, she said this was amazing, very inspiring. So go ahead, to the Facebook group, tag Libria with the @sign.
Tag your girl.
And then hashtag Ask the Expert. If I see you put a hashtag in front of Libria, I'm going to shame you. No, I'm just joking.
No, I got your back. I promise. I'll take up for you. I got your back, guys.
All right, this was awesome, guys. Thank you so much. See, this is what we do. Don't think it's not just money. It's just more than that. It's truly a movement toward a richer life, hence the Live Richer Academy. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.